Hi, my name's Beth. I'm the lead here for public and personal safety training in South Wales Police. So the training now is all scenario based, so officers will come for 2 days every year for their annual re-qualification training. During that session they'll undergo 6 evidence-based scenarios where force is used most within policing. So they'll start with a fight in the street, stop and search, a domestic incident, vulnerable persons, public order and custody. So that's the experience they'll have over the 2 days. It's very different, so the methodology now, as you can see behind me, we're using scenario-based training. So we're in an immersive scenario suite where we're able to adjust lighting, temperature and different elements so they can work in confined spaces, open spaces, vehicles and practice those skills and tactics in a real-life environment. So we want to expose officers to those real stressful situations and challenge them before they have to do that in real life in a safe and a controlled environment as we possibly can. It's certainly our belief and that of the College of Policing that will reduce assaults on police officers and also increase the safety of members of the public. But it's really led by the learners, massively led by the learners. So the best training comes from the experience of the officers, so sometimes they'll be role-playing, for example, a domestic incident, very similar to one that they've experienced operationally, and therefore that gives the best quality learning because it's relevant and current to what they're doing out on the streets. So they'll take it in turns, role-playing, and then being police officers and using the skills, demonstrating those skills as part of their training. So we're not bringing people in as teams, so you could have everybody from all different ranks, roles, specials are mixed in with the regulars, so it's all police officers, all ranks and roles, all in one training session. Yeah, so every warranted officer will undergo this training. It's mandatory training every 365 days. Specials and regulars, exactly the same training. So in South Wales, we launched on the 2nd of January this year, right in the deep end, and we're now through nearly 2,000 officers trained already in this methodology. Feedback's been phenomenal. People are really enjoying it. It's new, it's different, it's fresh, and they're actually getting to use the techniques that they use on the streets rather than things that fit into a neat little gym box. PPST historically has not been everybody's favourite subject, and that's fine. Generally, most people have left you happy, smiling, and looking forward to being back operational. A lot of the feedback that we've had from people who've been in back office roles for a long time is that it's given them that confidence to go back out operationally and given them that kind of reality check of policing where they originally came from. So hopefully it's building confidence and it's a nice safe environment, so you're working within that pod of 8 with one trainer over the 2 days, so you go on that little journey together and you all look after each other. So it's a really nice environment and people are really enjoying it. And we're seeing with current events and summer demand that people are being brought out of traditionally office-based roles to the front line in uniform. So the basis of this training this year has been heavily focused on uniform policing in order that everybody's re-chipped to a minimum standard to be able to fulfil that role. So whilst we accept that there's all different roles and responsibilities within the police, that basic standard of uniform policing needs to be met by everybody across the force. Yeah, so we have to be re-qualified every 365 days. It's like having a pilot's license or a gas safe certificate, exactly the same. So you're licensed to carry those appointments as a police officer and be deployed. So if you're not in date with that mandatory training, the first step would be a meeting with the line manager as to why that's happened, and potentially then we'd look at performance issues down the line. But we're here to accommodate people, so any worries or stresses around the training, or if you need any extra bespoke help, then by all means get in touch with us. We'll be happy to facilitate that. So officer safety is paramount within the force. It is the Chief Constable's priority, and this training is proven to keep officers safer. Our assault rate is already dropping, and we hope that as this training progresses over the next couple of years, that rate will drop even further. So yeah, that's the message.
Yeah, I'm Phil Walker. I'm the chair of South Wales Police Federation Branch Board. Foolishly, I volunteered to do day one. I'd been involved at a sort of executive gold level in the meetings where the force were designing the package, going through resourcing and how they were going to actually facilitate the course. At which point I suggested that Mike George, our branch secretary, and I did day one, course one. I didn't know that would be January the 2nd, after a heavy Christmas. But we did it, and we both passed with flying colours. I'm in the autumn of my career. but definitely one of the older generation. And that's telling with this course, because the new PPST course is far more akin to how training used to be. And for those with experience in the service, I think they'll recognise that this is training going back a certain extent to how it used to be, which is scenario-based and training through realities. I don't think anyone will deny that within South Wales Police, officer safety training, as it used to be called, did get a bit unfit for purpose. It was very much repetition. You would learn a technique and then it would just be standing in a class with no sort of environment like this has got, just repeating an exercise so that the muscle memory came in. None of it was based around what might actually happen in the street. And the scenario-based training is excellent because we're training with colleagues who've got a really wide breadth of experience. And with them being the actors as well, and we took it in turns, they can bring experiences that they've had in the real world into that scenario. And very often it takes you by surprise. You'll go through that door into that living room and something will come at you that you just weren't expecting. And that's training you for everyday life in the police. So, one such scenario a firearms officer had experienced was a father and a child who had covered both of them in petrol and was holding a lighter. So you're going into a scenario briefed by the trainers, you walk into a room and that's what you find. And that's training for reality. We may not have ever experienced that in our policing career, but we know it's true, we know it happens because it happened to somebody who was playing the role. So it's as real as it can get whilst acknowledging you're in a foam padded room. Like even the graphics that you can see on the wall here, this is all done by South Wales Police in-house printing. So every element of South Wales Police as an organisation has come together, directed by and with the help of the College of Policing, to build what is arguably a sort of leading fit-for-purpose environment. You're not going to get better than this without going into a city centre and training in the streets. So it's safe, it's controlled, but it's training for reality, and it's brilliant. I get that people are anxious. I get that the rumour, if you haven't seen the facility or if you haven't been on your course yet, the rumours that are out there or the experiences that people are relaying out on the street may make people anxious. They don't need to be. You can be at any level of fitness, any level of experience in this training environment and have a beneficial 2 days. Yes, you become qualified and you can stay operational, but you learn from your colleagues, you learn from the trainers, you can learn from yourself because you can see what you can do, what you do remember from when you were frontline or a student officer. If you're a student officer, you're going to learn from the experience of everybody around you. And it's 2 days of good fun. I know people are worried about the fitness test. The fitness test isn't necessarily part of PPST training. They do run side by side in this organisation, but even with the fitness test, if you're worried about it, Beth Hawke and all of the PPST training staff are more than willing to meet with you one-on-one or in a group of friends. They will adapt the training, they'll adapt the test to suit you because everybody wants you to get through that training. So it's really good and supportive.